The movie begins in 1964 in Hong Kong, where we're introduced to Yip Man, who is a renowned Kung Fu master. He has spent his whole life practicing and promoting Wing Chun, which is a classic Chinese martial art. One day, during a doctor's checkup, Yip Man learns that he has throat cancer as a result of excessive smoking. As a result, the doctor suggests chemotherapy and advises him to quit smoking. In the next scene, we see a man named Billy visiting the Wing Chun Academy, and he is pleased to see a photograph of Yip Man in the hallway. He then meets the students, but they get into an argument due to the language issue. They start fighting immediately, but Billy is soon stopped by Yip Man, who knocks him down with a kick. However, Billy is delighted to see him and says he is Bruce Lee's student. He claims that Bruce Lee has invited him to see his tournament in America and hands him a ticket, as well as a book written by Bruce Lee. Yip Man takes the book, but he respectfully denies the ticket, stating that he does not have time to visit America. Regardless, before leaving, Billy hands the ticket to one of the students, in case Yip Man changes his mind. Meanwhile, we see Yip Man's son, Yip Ching, fighting with several boys at school. Later, the headmaster summons Yip Man to the school and informs him that his son must be expelled for his conduct. Yip Man requests another chance for his kid, but the headmaster refuses and suggests he transfers his son abroad to study, because no other school in the country will take him at this time of year. In the evening, Yip Man invites his friend Fatbo to his house and informs him that he plans to travel to San Francisco in search of a school for Yip Ching. He then requests that Fatbo stay with his son and care for him throughout this time. Hearing this, Yip Ching rebels, since he is not interested in studying, and instead wants to learn Kung Fu and make a living by establishing a martial arts school like his father. He then begins to say that if his mother had been alive, she would have understood him. Yip Man becomes enraged hearing this and slaps his son, but Fatbo intervenes and separates them. The next morning, Yip Man departs for San Francisco, where he is greeted by an old friend named Liang Zhen. On the way, Yip Man inquires about a letter of recommendation so that his son can attend the university. Zhen responds that he has asked the Chinese Benevolent Association to write a reference letter, but they wanted to meet with him first. Sometime later, they arrive at Chinatown, where Yip Man meets several Kung Fu masters. He introduces himself and greets them, but they do not answer properly. Moments later, the chairman of the association, Master One, speaks up and asks him to first condemn his student, Bruce Lee, for teaching Kung Fu to foreigners and writing a Kung Fu guidebook in English. The council members are concerned that the foreigners will use Kung Fu to counterattack the Chinese. However, Yip Man finds no issue with Bruce Lee's behavior, because he knows Bruce's primary goal is to introduce and promote Kung Fu to the rest of the world. Since he refuses to stop Bruce Lee, One also refuses to write a recommendation letter for his son. The two then get into a little clash, which causes them to break the glass table during the meeting. After this, Jen escorts Yip Man to his hotel and apologizes for what happened earlier. He says that a letter of recommendation is very important to enter a school, because Americans only want well-behaved students. Later, Yip Man calls home, but Fatbo answers the phone since Yip Ching is still upset with his father. Meanwhile, we see One teaching martial arts to his daughter, Yona. However, Yona says she isn't interested in Kung Fu and prefers cheerleading instead. The following evening, Yip Man goes to watch Bruce Lee's tournament, and Bruce is overjoyed to see his master. After the match, they go out to celebrate with some food and drink. During their conversation, Yip Man reveals his reasons for coming to America and his difficulty in obtaining a recommendation letter. However, Bruce assures him that he will ask one of his law students to write a glowing letter for him. After that, Bruce introduces him to his student Hartman, who is serving in the United States Marine Corps. Suddenly, a group of white karate students appear at the diner and challenge them to a battle. The Kung Fu experts also accept the challenge without hesitation and proceed, but as we have expected, Bruce Lee effortlessly defeats the rookies and emerges victorious. The following day, Yip Man goes to a school after receiving a letter of recommendation from Bruce Lee's lawyer student. However, the letter is denied because he still needs the letter from the Chinese Virtue Association. But on the flip side, the principal says that if he can pay $10,000 to the school, they will be allowed to admit his kid without a recommendation letter. Meanwhile, at the same school, we see Yona being chosen as the captain of the cheerleading team. However, a racist and jealous girl named Becky protests that she does not deserve this, but their teacher scolds her. Later, on the way home, Becky brings her male friends, and they all try to harass Yona. Yona attempts to fight, but she is swiftly defeated by the group. Becky then severely chops Yona's hair, while the boys retain her. Just then, Yip Man notices this from a distance and rushes to help her. He then beats them casually, causing them to all flee in terror. Next, Yip Man confronts Yona and offers to accompany her home. On the way, they introduce themselves, and Yip Man explains the reason he's here. Hearing this, Yona says that her father is Master One, the chairman of the Chinese Association, and that she will seek help from him. Meanwhile, Becky returns home to her mother, crying, and shows her slightly injured cheek. She then claims that Yona assaulted her, and her terrified mother calls her husband, who works at US Immigration, and asks him to come home immediately. Soon after, Becky's father, Andrew, arrives and is enraged to see his daughter in distress. Immediately, Becky's mother instructs him to investigate this matter and punish the Chinese people for harassing them. On the other hand, Yona returns home with Yip Man and requests that her father write a recommendation letter for him. Wan, on the other hand, taunts him, accusing him of manipulating his daughter solely to get a letter. On top of that, Wan challenges Yip Man to a duel and tells him that if he really wants the letter, he must emerge victorious. The two then start fighting, and both are extremely competent. However, their fight is immediately cut short when an earthquake strikes. But after the earthquake subsides, Yip Man leaves the scene, claiming that he is genuine in his intention to protect Yona, and not to obtain the recommendation letter. Later that evening, Yip Man calls back to Hong Kong and attempts to speak with Yip Ching, but his son is still enraged and refuses to speak with him. Meanwhile, Bruce Lee's student Hartman brings a wooden doll into the Marine base to practice Kung Fu. However, Sergeant Barton Geddes arrives and insults Chinese culture and Kung Fu as a whole. Still, Hartman tries to persuade him to include Chinese martial arts in their combat training. Barton, on the other hand, is fiercely opposed, claiming that their existing karate training is superior. Nonetheless, he offers Hartman an opportunity to prove himself by having him fight the Marines' karate instructor, Colin Frater. Soon the fight begins, but unfortunately, Hartman is easily defeated by Colin, seemingly proving Barton's claim that karate is superior to Kung Fu. The following day, Yona visits Yip Man to give him a recommendation letter in which she has faked her father's signature. However, Yip Man realizes the letter is a forgery and tears it up, declaring that he does not want to be a fraud. After this, Yona invites him to the Mid-Autumn Festival in Chinatown, which he accepts. Meanwhile, at the Marine base, Hartman does not give up and eventually persuades the unit commander of the importance of Kung Fu in the military. The commander is also impressed and wants Hartman to record and film martial arts at Chinatown's Mid-Autumn Festival. However, this enrages Barton, so he orders Colin to attend the festival and demonstrate their karate skills. The scene then shifts to the day of the festival, where Yip Man is also present, and Hartman is filming the event for his boss. However, as the show is in progress, Colin and his men arrive and show their karate strength on stage. At the same time, we see Wan at his house. Just then, Becky's father, Andrew, arrives at the scene and accuses him of being in the country illegally and arrests him. Meanwhile, at the festival, after showing his strength, Colin begins criticizing Kung Fu and challenges the Kung Fu masters to fight him. The masters accept his challenges, but he defeats them one by one. But just when he's ready to strike a female master, Yip Man steps in and kicks him away. The two then engage in a fierce battle, but in the end, Yip Man wins the duel. But due to this, Colin suffers some serious injuries and is immediately hospitalized. After the fight, Yona learns that his father has been detained by immigration officers, so she and Yip Man immediately rush to the immigration office. There, one is accused of faking a recommendation letter to Chinese illegal immigrants by Andrew. He then threatens to arrest everyone at the Chinese Association. Hearing this, Yona's uncle steps up and phones his friend to inform everyone about their imminent arrests. However, Barton appears in Chinatown and begins beating everyone up. He inquires about Master One's whereabouts, mistaking him for Yip Man, and finds out that he is in the immigration office. He then goes to the immigration office and requests that Wan be taken to the Marine headquarters. Andrew also grants him permission, so Barton forcibly takes Wan and challenges him to a fight. Upon arriving at the base, Barton and Wan engage in another vicious brawl, with both exhibiting exceptional moves. However, in the end, Barton severely injures Wan and ends up defeating him. Elsewhere, Yip Man takes the members of the association to Bruce Lee's gym for treatment. As a result, they finally realize their mistake and apologize to him for passing such harsh judgment on him before. In the next scene, Yip Man calls his son back home, but he still refuses to speak to his father. So Yip Man finally tells Fatbo that he has cancer and that he doesn't have much time left, since his condition is deteriorating by the day. When Yip Ching learns about this, he finally speaks to his father, but Yip Man apologizes to his son for slapping him. He then promises to teach his son martial arts when he returns home. Yip Ching gets shocked and starts sobbing at this revelation, but Yip Man comforts him and promises to return home as soon as his work in the United States is over. The next day, Hartman brings Yip Man to Marine camp to confront Barton for insulting Wing Chun and Chinese culture. Soon after that, the two begin fighting, and at first, Yip Man is able to keep up with Barton. However, since Barton is better in terms of physical strength, and Yip Man's previous wound has also not yet healed, Barton mercilessly beats him. But Yip Man refuses to give up, and he eventually beats Barton and ends up winning the battle. Following this, he gains the respect of the Marines, who praise him for his skill and strength. After the incident, Wan writes a letter of recommendation for Yip Man, but he refuses the offer, saying he and his son did not intend to move to San Francisco anymore. In the next scene, Yip Man returns home, and his son is overjoyed to see him. Yip Ching requests that his father teach him martial arts, which Yip Man agrees to do, on the condition that he only teach him once. Therefore, Yip Ching films his father while he demonstrates his techniques to him. The scene then shifts to 1972, when the legendary Yip Man succumbs to his illness and passes away at the age of 79. We then see Bruce Lee attending his funeral and offering his condolences, and the movie comes to an end.